All right, so here's a weird question. What if I told you that eating broccoli every single day could be one of the best decisions you make for your health this year? I know. You're probably thinking about those childhood dinner battles where you tried to hide broccoli under your napkin. But stick with me here, because the science behind this green vegetable is actually wild. Let me start with something that might blow your mind. A recent study that followed over 12,000 adults found that people who ate broccoli regularly had lower risks of death from all causes. We're not talking about a small difference here. The researchers tracked these people for years, looking at everything from cardiovascular disease to cancer deaths. And the data was pretty clear. Broccoli consumption was associated with better survival rates. So what's actually happening in your body when you eat broccoli every day? Let's break this down, because it's fascinating. First off, there's this compound called sulforaphane. It's not something you hear about every day, but it's basically the superstar molecule in broccoli. When you chop or chew broccoli, an enzyme called myrosinase encounters glucosinolates, leading to their breakdown and the formation of sulforaphane. This is important because sulforaphane doesn't just sit there. It actively does things in your body. Research has shown that sulforaphane can help prevent cancer by targeting multiple mechanisms. It inhibits cancer cell proliferation, arrests the cell cycle, induces programmed cell death in tumor cells, and can even suppress cancer stem cells. And we're not talking about just one type of cancer here. Studies on prostate cancer cells showed that treating them with sulforaphane reduced cell viability by 40 to 60% and decreased their metastatic ability by up to 50%. Now, I want to be clear, eating broccoli isn't a cure for cancer. No one's saying that. But what the research is showing is that regular consumption might help your body defend itself against cancer development in the first place. That's prevention, not treatment. And there's a huge difference. But cancer prevention is just the beginning. Let's talk about what happens to your gut when you eat broccoli daily. A study at Penn State found that feeding mice a diet containing 15% broccoli, equivalent to about 3.5 cups per day for humans, helped protect the lining of the small intestine and inhibited disease development. The molecules in broccoli were binding to receptors in intestinal cells and helping maintain a healthy gut barrier. Your gut is basically your body's first line of defense against a lot of diseases, so keeping it healthy is kind of a big deal. Here's something that really caught my attention. In a controlled study with 40 overweight subjects, participants who consumed 30 grams of broccoli sprouts daily for 10 weeks saw their inflammatory marker, IL-6, drop from an average of about 4.76 to 2.11. That's a massive reduction. And inflammation is at the root of so many chronic diseases. Heart disease, diabetes, arthritis, you name it. Speaking of diabetes, let's talk about blood sugar. One human study showed significantly decreased insulin resistance in people with type 2 diabetes, who consumed broccoli sprouts daily for 1 month. For anyone struggling with blood sugar control or prediabetes, this is huge. It's not replacing medication, but it's showing that what you eat can genuinely impact how your body processes glucose. And then there's your heart. A randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled study with 288 subjects found that daily consumption of broccoli sprout powder led to statistically significant reductions in both lipid profile markers and blood glucose markers over 12 weeks. We're talking about improvements in cholesterol, triglycerides, and blood sugar, all from adding broccoli to the diet. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking is, there's such a thing as too much broccoli? While some laboratory studies have shown potential genotoxic effects in very high doses or specific preparations, research indicates that the benefits from moderate intake in processed form outweigh potential risks. The key word here is moderate. We're talking about eating it as part of a normal, balanced diet, not downing 10 cups a day or taking megadoses of concentrated supplements without guidance. Here's the practical part. How much should you actually eat? Most of the beneficial effects in studies come from amounts that are totally achievable, around 1 cup of chopped broccoli per day. That's not some impossible goal. That's a side dish at dinner or mixed into a stir-fry or pasta. And here's a tip that matters: steaming broccoli with a bit of crunch left in. It is better than overcooking it until it's mushy. When you overcook broccoli, you start breaking down some of those beneficial compounds. You want it cooked enough to be digestible, but not so much that you're destroying the good stuff. Broccoli is loaded with vitamins like A, C, and K, minerals including calcium, potassium, and iron, Plus, it's high in fiber and antioxidants. It's basically a nutritional powerhouse. And unlike a lot of trendy superfoods that cost a fortune and come from some remote mountain, broccoli is available at pretty much any grocery store for a few dollars. Let me put this in perspective. We spend so much money on supplements, trying to find that magic pill. That'll make us healthier. But here's a vegetable that costs maybe $2 or $3 a pound, available year-round, that has legitimate scientific backing, showing it can impact inflammation, cancer risk, heart health, blood sugar control, and gut health. That's a better return on investment than most supplements in your cabinet. But I get it. Broccoli isn't everyone's favorite food. Some people genuinely don't like the taste, and that's okay. Here's the thing though, there are so many ways to prepare it. Roast it with olive oil and garlic until it gets crispy. Add it to smoothies where you honestly can't even taste it. Mix it into pasta or rice dishes. Put it in soups. Throw it in a stir-fry with some good sauce. The point is, if you're creative with how you prepare it, you can find a way that works for you. And here's something interesting about the compounds in broccoli. Broccoli sprouts actually contain higher levels of beneficial compounds than mature broccolis. So if you're really trying to maximize the health benefits, adding broccoli sprouts to salads or sandwiches is an option. They're milder in flavor too, which some people prefer. One more thing I want to mention. Broccoli's effects seem to work best as part of an overall healthy lifestyle. It's not a magic bullet that'll cancel out a terrible diet or completely sedentary lifestyle. But when you're already trying to eat well and take care of yourself, adding daily broccoli can be a powerful piece of the puzzle. The research on broccoli keeps growing, and what's becoming clear is that our grandparents and parents were right when they told us to eat our vegetables. But now we understand why. We're not just talking about vague notions of being healthy. We're talking about specific, measurable impacts on inflammation, cancer cell behavior, gut health, and metabolic function. Look, I'm not saying you need to become obsessed with broccoli or eat nothing else. That would be ridiculous. But what I'm saying is that the evidence is pretty compelling that making broccoli a regular part of your diet, like several times a week or even daily, if you can, is one of those simple things that can have a real impact on your long-term health. In a world where we're constantly looking for the next big health hack or the perfect supplement or the ideal workout routine, sometimes the answer is simpler than we think. Sometimes it's just about eating more of the foods that science keeps showing are genuinely good for us. And broccoli is definitely one of those foods. So next time you're at the grocery store, maybe grab an extra head of broccoli. Try a new recipe. See if you can work it into your routine. Your body might thank you for it, and not just in some vague, feel-good way. We're talking about real, measurable changes in how your body functions and defends itself against disease. That's the power of food. That's the power of broccoli. Pretty cool for something that looks like a tiny tree, right?